There were some folks passing out flyers who were like, have you heard of the new solar farm that's coming to town? And I was like, no, great, tell me all about it. And they're like, no, it's terrible.
I grew up in a very small farm town in rural Illinois, not too dissimilar from Copake. And I was concerned that this was going to be another situation where a big corporation took advantage of a small town.
As I did the research, I came to a different conclusion. I think it's extremely necessary to fight the climate crisis, and that it could probably be a pretty good thing for the town.
They call it the Shepherd's Run solar farm. Well, it's not a farm, it's an industrial facility. And I think that they want to paint a picture that this thing is already in harmony with the community, which it's not.
The project is currently sized at 255 acres. So that's going to be a fenced-in area. And then within that, you have about 80 acres of actual panels, which, for reference, is about 1% of all of Copake, the town that it's in.
The area that they want to build, it's not one solar site. It is a network of small solar that goes for miles through a valley, because they're working around wetlands, they're working around streams. It's a hilly topography. They're proposing, there's one area of the site where they will be clear cutting forests that abuts the Audubon Sanctuary. This thing's also going to go right up to the back of our school, a school that the community spent millions of dollars building a new campus for our kids, and these solar panels are going to be right there at the foot of the school.
We need to do basically two things to fight climate change. One is electrify all the cars and buildings, and two is produce all that power cleanly. And when you electrify every car in the state and in the country and every building, that's a lot of power you need to produce, and you have to produce it cleanly. And that means a ton of wind and solar farms. And yeah, we can cover every building that we want in solar panels, but that's actually not enough. You still have to have large solar farms. And unless you want to cut down the forest, it pretty much has to go on farmland. So that's like, if there's one thing a town can do to really fight climate change, it's to invite a large solar farm to town.
Someone would have to be crazy not to think that a small ranch home surrounded by hundreds of thousands of solar panels is not going to impact that homeowner's ability to sell their property someday. And these are people that have invested their entire life's work and savings into their homes.
We think there's a big opportunity for the community to make a lot more tax revenue. So the Hecate Energy, who's the developer behind the solar farm, their starting offer was $5 to $7 million in cash for taxes. That works out to, if the town gets most of that, because it has to split it with the county and the school, but if the town gets most of that, that could be about a third of the town's budget, which is a huge chunk. So you could cut people's property taxes, or you could do a bunch of projects around town.
I think the community really wants Hecate and the town to sit down and negotiate a project that works for our community. And I think we can get there, but both parties have to be sincere and willing to roll up their sleeves and compromise on this thing.
It's all up to the town to negotiate with the solar developer.
It's probably going to take another year or two when we start to have these huge 1,000, 2,000 acre solar facilities being built and not respecting the communities, that people are really going to start screaming, right? So we're trying to wave the flag early.
We have a couple of decades to build hundreds and hundreds of big solar farms in New York State, and to make every car and every building electric if we want to avert the worst ravages of climate change. It's very easy to say no to something. And it's even easier to say, no, I'm really for it, but just not here.
We're not saying don't do it in our backyard. We're just saying, Hecate, you can do a hell of a lot better in our backyard.
And I just know that in around 2035, my preteen is going to look at me in the eyes and say, how did you let this happen? What did you do? What did you do about this? And I just want to have a good answer to them.